Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome to the Legal Forum here only on the Islam channel with me, Lee Clark. In this series we partnered up with Khan Solicitors and discussed some common topics, and on today's final episode we'll be looking at British nationality and on what grounds an application for naturalisation or registration can be made. Naturalisation is the legal process by which a person changes their nationality, and for hundreds of years foreign nationals living in the UK and sometimes living abroad have been able to attain British citizenship through naturalisation. We're going to welcome Omar from Khan Solicitors today. Omar, welcome to the show as always, and nice to have you back. Give me a little introduction to how it works for your clients.
Right. Naturalization, and I hear the questions, what is naturalization and what is registration as a British citizen? They are similar things or same things, but for under 18 years of age, if people they apply for nationality or they want to become a national, British national, their application is called as registration. So they are registered as British citizens. And if they are over 18, then they are naturalized as British national. So it's the same thing, but two different terminologies.
One of the things that I found incredibly interesting, that's something that I hadn't realised, that if two people who, a mother and father, are here in the United Kingdom and are on a visa but not naturalised themselves, if they have a child here in this country, I thought that child would be given and have naturalisation here in the UK, but that's not the case, is it?
No, of course not. It was the case maybe before, or other countries, if you are born there on their land, and obviously they would allow you to have British nationality, or you would become, or you, as of right, you would become national of that country. America still, I think USA still does it. However, in Britain, we are talking about the UK laws. Obviously, you have to have either father or the mother as British citizen in the UK if you were born in the UK. So, you could be born outside the UK as well, but as long as you had father or the mother, one of them would be British citizens, then you could automatically have the right to become British citizen.
So explaining it like that, it seems kind of very simple as to how one would become naturalised here in the UK. Is the other side of the coin quite confusing? Are there lots of hoops and things to jump through to get naturalisation here in the United Kingdom if you're not born here, or is it as simple as you've just said?
No, there are many ways to get to that point. Either it's through marriage. If you are married to a British citizen, you come here, you migrate to the UK as a spouse, and there has been obviously different way, the time periods throughout. It used to be 6 months probationary, and then it became 2 years, and then now it has become 5 years. So, and you have to complete 5 years now, currently, as a spouse of a British citizen, you are able to apply for permanent residence. So once you've got the permanent residence, you have to wait for another 12 months before you make an application to for naturalization. So you have to have at least 6 years in the country to be eligible for a British citizenship.
Outside influences, are there any ways that people can speed up a naturalisation process if you're a sportsman or if you're, have some sort of business vested interest? Is there any other way, or is it the same for everybody?
There are. Obviously, if now the government introduces different routes from time to time in order to, accommodate or attract people, say for example businesses. So say for example now the entrepreneurs, if they want to become British citizens, it is a fast track. So say for example, if you came here, you invested your money, about £200,000, you grew a business, you are a successful business person. So you have grown up your business, okay, and then you have, you are a successful businessman. You can be fast tracked, so you can become permanent residents very quickly after even 3 years. After 3 years,
so it's almost cutting it down in half, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. So basically, it is about the at that time, whatever is the rule is. However, currently, in any category, you are at least 6 years before you apply for naturalization, even in the spouse category, even the work category, and other things. But obviously, there are different other routes as well, which we can obviously get the legal advice on. For example, if you're born outside the UK, and you might think that your parents or grandparents or whoever had they were British citizen at the time, when you were born. So it has to be looked at what date was your date of birth is, and obviously how your parents or grandparents acquired British citizenship. So these are the things which obviously quite deep, and it has to be looked at from case to case.
So going right back to the beginning, talking of the process as we just mentioned there, how does somebody apply to naturalise here in the United Kingdom? What's the first stage they need to do, and what's your experiences at Khan Solicitors with that?
Well, we have to check first that we know which route they have to, they have been following. Say, for example, spouse, as I gave the example. Other routes are if they were on work permits or work visas. If they were born here, say, for example, I'll give you a small example. If a child is born here in the UK, whether his parents were British national or not, and they spent first 10 years of their life in the UK, after 10 years, they become entitled to be registered as British citizens. I think like to tell what are the main eligibilities there anyway.
Of course, yes.
But the requirements. So the requirements are that you have to have English test, English exam.
Okay.
So which the UKVI, UK Visa and Immigration, so they have approved it that this level of English you should have in order to become a British citizen. And at the same time, life in the UK test, which obviously you wouldn't know because you...
You don't ask me any questions on that because I probably get them all wrong. Oh, right. So what is a life in the UK
life
test?
In the UK test it's about the history. Okay.
I definitely get them wrong.
If you're not a history student, obviously, no one would get them right. Obviously, you have to study for it, and there is there are certain chapters in the Life in the UK textbook or whatever they have introduced. So you have to go through it, and you have to practice really, and you have to, and it's a good thing. You have to learn about the country you are going to be a citizen of.
I think it helps you in the long run, doesn't it?
Of course,
gives
definitely.
You some sort of ability to understand where you're going.
Where you're going, and and it is about people, it is about the culture, it is about the customs, it is about the history, it is about the the law, like for example, Parliament, how the Parliament works, how our vote, the voting system.
If anybody knows the answer to that question, that's a good. They've done
exactly.
very well.
But then, I think it's a good thing, and I personally think that you must know all these things, not in detail, obviously, but the basics you must know. I think whenever you are born, I think you have fair bit of idea of the system. So obviously you are new to this country. If you are, obviously by that time you would have spent 5-6 years anyway. But then still, it's a good thing. So you learn about that and you pass that exam, which is compulsory. Once that is done, then the process comes, when you have to make an application. So application can be done online or through a solicitor yourself, but obviously you must know that, or you take legal advice in order to make sure that, you qualify under the rules, and you have to have enough documentary evidence. In order to, there are other two very important aspects of it, is the residency test. You have to have your presence, physical presence in the UK in the last 5 years in order to qualify. So if you have been, say for example, if you're applying after 5 years, And the last 5 years, 450 days, you must not have been outside the UK, 400, more than 450 days. And especially in the last 1 year when you are applying, you must not have been outside the UK, or you must not have been absent from the UK more than 90 days.
Is there a generic fee for naturalisation, or does it base on which avenue or which road you're taking?
Well,
to seek
naturalisation fee, and they are fixed fees,
Okay.
but obviously they change every year or whenever the
Okay.
UKVI make changes to the fee structures of different applications. However, it is around £1,200 is the naturalisation fee, and £900 something for a registration as a British citizen for the children. So, but obviously I always check myself, and I always say to everyone that whenever you want to make an application, please make sure that you check the fee at the time you make an application. However, you know, if you make a wrong payment, or if you wrong the amount, then obviously it could be rejected as well. So that is important.
Now, there's a phrase that has always gone around as far as immigration is concerned about dual nationality. I have a passport here and I have a passport there. If you're coming to be naturalised here in the United Kingdom, can you still not keep residency necessarily, but keep your passport for maybe your heritage country? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible, as long as your own country allows dual nationality. Many countries, they don't allow dual nationality. So I have, well, Britain normally does not have any problem if you have any other nationality at the same time. However, other countries may have that, you know, the rules that you cannot keep another nationality unless you surrender one of their own residency or the passport or the nationality. So basically, you know, you have to check with your countries, you know, immigration department or the passport department, whether you're allowed to do it or not.
So here's a question for you. You come from whichever country in the world, you've naturalised here in the United Kingdom, you've been here for 5, 6, 7 years, and then something changes, work, family, cost of living, whatever. You think, do you know what? I want to go back to where I came from, whichever country that is. Is that easy to reverse the process to go back to your country of birth, should we say?
It's, of course.
Is it a lot easier than getting naturalisation here in the first place?
You are free to go. Well, what do you mean after?
So
after
if you're
taking,
say
after taking naturalisation,
yes.
After taking the nationality.
Yeah. So if you're from, say, India or Pakistan or anywhere else in the world, you come here, you get naturalised, and you think, do you know what? This isn't for me.
Oh yes.
Is it easy to go back?
Of course. You know. Well, it's up. Then it's the logistics of, you know, or your decision, isn't it? Really.
But is it so much paper filling in? I mean,
No.
like it would be to come here.
No, you'll
go
become
back to where you've come from.
of course, you're a British citizen. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, if wherever you want to go, wherever you want to work, wherever you want to do whatever, and then obviously you want to come back. It's all. You know, you're free to go and free to come in. You know, it's obviously it's difficult to initially entry when you are coming as a migrant, and obviously it is difficult. But obviously, you know, once you are naturalised, that's fine.
Now, over the series, our viewers who keenly notice I have all these cards in front of me here with all the questions that I write down and the things that I intend to ask you. One thing that really was one of the first questions that I put onto this today was, in the months to come, Brexit is going to feature, or no Brexit, or whatever we find ourselves going through, is going to feature in some way in the lives of everybody in the United Kingdom. How or is that going to affect visa applications, people who were already here or in limbo if we in the EU when they applied for their visa application and they're no longer in the EU? What's the scenario regarding this?
Obviously, it is. Brexit mainly is going to affect the EU nationals, EEA nationals,
Okay.
you know, who are from, you know, European Union. They have been here working, and you know, they are qualified people in order they're exercising their treaty rights in the UK. So obviously, you as an EEA national, you have to exercise your treaty rights either you're working, as I think we have spoken about it before, either you're working, you're a full-time student, you're a self-employed person, you are, or either you are temporarily incapacitated or you're on benefit. So in any event, you have to be on papers that you know what you are doing. If you're not doing anything, obviously you are not a qualified person, and obviously that the time you spend here will not be counted towards your residence.
Okay. So if you, an example that, again, what we talked about before we started filming today, if you've come here from an EU country into the United Kingdom, you may be retired and you have a bank account and you've been here legally as it is, and the EU, or we come out of the EU, does anything change for you being here in the United Kingdom?
No, it is, if you are self-sufficient, you know, that's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, you know, there are lots of expats in, you know, other EU countries, and, you know, Europeans are here as well. You know, it is perfectly all right. However, if you, before the Brexit, if you can show with the documentary evidence that you have been here for more than, you know, 5 years or 3 years, or, you know, whatever time you've been here, and you can prove, and then there is no reason that you are not recognized as resident, you know, you are registered as a resident, or you are granted permanent residence in the UK. Because if you, for example, as a qualified person, you have stayed in the, lived in the country for 5 years, you automatically acquire the rights as a permanent residence.
Okay.
You know, it's permanent resident. So it's just a matter of proving that you have been in the country. So whether Brexit is there or not, obviously if you can prove it, that you've been here, Brexit just came now, I've been here for 8 years or 10 years, you know, and I never registered myself. Why should I? Because I was an EU nation. So there is no problem whatsoever as long as you have, but I normally say, you know, better get yourself registered, so it becomes, you know, you are satisfied that at least I've got something to show that, you know, I am.
You must have to read up on all the law changes frequently to keep yourself on top of it. It must be literally one of the hardest areas of law.
Definitely, you know, because you have to have, you know, update on every day, you know, whatever is changing and what is going to change for other people, so or who are going to be affected by him. So this is just part of our job, isn't it?
Part of your job. I don't think I'd be able to cope with your job for sure. But when we talk about all the categories that we have, is there a generic, not question that you get asked all the time, but something you think, right, here we go again, we've got to do this. Is there something that literally people could help themselves before they come to you to make sure that they have the right paperwork, that they have something to aid them in
I mean, you know, the important, which the requirements are, mostly is the English requirement, which obviously have to have the English test, pass test, or and the life in the UK test. These are two important things. And when they come to a solicitor, they must bring all those documentations from the last 10 years at least, you know, for the residency, for everything, for their character reference. And obviously you require 2 referees in the application form as well, who must have known you for the last, at least for the 3 years. And one must be a professional reference, and the other could be a normal British citizen who you know, who has known you personally for the last 3 years. So you must keep it in mind that, you know, you have the referees ready, you know, those are important. And then obviously the other requirements. But then when a solicitor looks at it, and then it goes deep into it, you know, asks you questions, how long you've been here, have you ever been any, you know, in trouble with the law, you know, any immigration problem, immigration history, any points on your license, speeding, you know, anything. So obviously, you know, he will check everything with you. So if there is a slight issue where he could think, well, you know, this is serious, and, you know, it might not work, and the application might be unsuccessful, then obviously you are reducing the risk of having a refusal and wastage of your fee. You know, so that is important, that, you know, you have all these things, and then, you know, have a advice session with a solicitor, and then he should be able to tell you everything.
But if you're coming from a country outside the UK and you may have a criminal record, you might have been done for whatever it is. I mean, obviously not, some of the life like murders or anything like that. But if you have a criminal record for something, a petty crime, shall we say, is that going to go against your application?
It does. Well, there is a rehabilitation period of every offence one commits. However,
what's the timescale for that?
Well, there are different, depending on what kind of, exactly. It's on the scale, when, those offences are spent, with the time.
We've covered this before, isn't it? Yes, spent time, that phrase
exactly.
Again, yeah.
Spent time. I think you had with Shahid, I think he would have told you about the crimes, the criminal law. However, there are certain crimes for immigration purposes. For immigration purposes, it's different now.
Okay.
So say for example, if you have a certain custodial sentence, and it was a crime, whatever, obviously it could be serious as well. So you could not apply, or you could not be entitled to apply forever.
Okay.
So you would, you would stay just a permanent resident. You couldn't be entitled to apply for naturalization. So therefore, you must make sure that the application is done properly and checked properly, so that you're not wasting time and money.
So, as time has escaped us as always, Omar, just a quick overview. Top 5 things that people need to take on board when they're applying for naturalisation.
Well, the correct level of English test, life in the UK test, and then obviously the right amount of fee which is being paid. The residency test, you have to make sure that they check it, and the character requirement. And these are the things which obviously will be checked by if you take legal advice, and that could be done very easily and properly, and save you time and money.
Well, Omar, thank you very much indeed. As always, it's been a pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you very much.
So there you have it, some important and helpful information on British nationality. We hope the scenarios discussed on today's show can give you a better understanding on today's topic. And I would like to thank our guest, Omar Khan, solicitor and partner for Khan Solicitors. Please bear in mind the views and opinions expressed in Legal Forum should be considered for informational purposes only and not case-specific legal advice. All topics are discussed in a generic nature, and it's important that you consult either with a CAB, law centre or solicitor before relying on it. If you would like to find out more about the Legal Forum or the topic we discussed today, or any of our previous topics, then please do email us at legalforum@islamchannel.tv. Well, that's all for this series, and we'll be back for another. Just watch this space. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and assalamu alaikum.